Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, can you hear me okay?
Of course I can hear you very clearly. I see your son behind you as well. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. It's daylight savings time in Canada, so I think we'll probably be somewhat confused due to time zone changes, but we'll carry on, and everyone will adjust week to week as we march forward in our work to present the legacy of Śrīla Prabhupada in his unadulterated, as we mentioned at the beginning of the opening of the program, the unadulterated, unedited books of His Divine Grace, because this is a very significant mission that we have to protect the legacy of Śrīla Prabhupada's work and the mission of Lord Chaitanya, because any change in philosophy, any change in the practice of Krishna consciousness by disciples is forbidden. The devotees are committed to following in the footsteps, the footprints of the pure devotee. And this will make them successful. Any change, this will cause them to detour off the path of spiritual emancipation. Yesterday, Yaśodā Prabhu, Nandana Prabhu, I had a chance to visit a town near here, and there was a Govinda's restaurant there. It appears that there's quite a few devotees that have emerged here in Mexico through the preaching work over the years. And this family, a mother and her son, were operating in this town. It was quite active, actually, quite busy. And it was really blissful for me to travel to Mexico and then visit this restaurant. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. Spanish isn't my first language. But when I walked in, there was a big picture of Prabhupada there. Beautiful. And the devotees were there. And when we sat down for our prasadam, we were the only ones at the time in the restaurant. We chanted Sarira Vijajal Jotendriya Taikal. I chanted it from our table, and the staff all joined in. And we all chanted. It was, it was quite blissful, to say the least. And then we moved forward. They started to bring out the prasadam, and then Prabhupada's bhajan came on. And he was chanting to us while we had our prasadam. And it was really moving to see how Prabhupada has spread Krishna consciousness all around the world. So devotees like ourselves, even though we come to a foreign land, we still feel at home when we're in the association of other devotees, because there is that common denominator of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as our guru. Now, in this particular case, it was interesting, Yaśodā Prabhu, that I asked the people there, I spoke to the cook, Lakshman was his name, and I asked him, we had a brief discussion, and I asked him, he told me his guru was a guru from the Gaudiya Math. Interesting. So we can see that the Mexican people were originally introduced to Krishna consciousness by Śrīla Prabhupāda. No question of that. No question. Because there, I was sitting there, there was the picture, beautiful picture of Prabhupada. There was also the bhajans being and the kirtans being played. But at the same time, for whatever reason, when I didn't speak to the person about the issue, for some other reason, there he was, a disciple of a Gaudiya Math guru. So we discussed this yesterday, that after Prabhupada's departure, so many people got into the guru business. This is the guru business of the modern society that we live in. And it's a good business. Just think about it, Yaśodā Prabhu. You don't need a degree to be a guru. You don't have to go get a PhD to become a guru. You don't have to qualify yourself, in a sense. You just join a movement, follow the rules and regulations, look serious, get up early. So you get up early, even a boxer, even an MMA fighter gets up early. It's not getting up early is a big deal. It is for the karmis, but for people that are serious, Mark Wahlberg, who, Yaśodā, we're connected to that Hollywood world a bit. He gets up at 3:00 every day. He doesn't go chant his rounds. He goes to the gym and does his workouts, for whatever purpose. Well, old age just continues to attack him, and he tries to avoid, becoming deteriorated by the transformation of time. But nonetheless, these people, they get some kind of position, some kind of recognition, some kind of financial stability. They even probably have a medical plan for themselves, where everybody else would struggle. But then the guru, he is stable. He has a fancy apartment like in South Africa, marble, this and that. So guru business. But our business is not for the guru business. Our business is the legacy of Śrīla Prabhupada. And we thank everybody for coming to these programs that we've begun by Krishna's arrangement. It wasn't, we decided years ago, let's go do a program. It's somehow or other unfolded by the grace of the Lord, and we move forward every week with the reading of the diaries of Śrīla Prabhupada. We get an insight into the austerity and the determination and the commitment of Śrīla Prabhupada to his spiritual master's order to spread Krishna consciousness, not only in America, but all over the world. And here we are in Mexico. Oh yeah. And here is the living proof that Śrīla Prabhupada is still alive by the grace of Lord Chaitanya and the grace of his guru, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. So we'll move forward with the readings of the diary. We're already moving into April 2nd. And April 2nd, remember, Prabhupada's still in his office, and he's just beginning to make a move to the loft, as we talked about yesterday. And he's starting in April now because he was robbed in his office residence. That's all it was. No kitchen, no bathroom, zero, just a desk and a window. Saturday, April 2nd, sunrise 5:40 a.m., sunset 6:28 p.m., moonset 4:41 a.m., Triodasi. I came back from Paul's loft to Dr. Mishra's apartment, took meals, came to my apartment, so he's eating there. Received one letter from Govinda Maharaj from the Gaudiya Math, and expenditure was 15 cents. Met with Yolanda and Cynthia to Ananda Ashram, went with, and passed the night and held kirtan. Kirtan was appreciated. So he's moving around in order to live. Sunday, April 3rd, sunrise 5:38 a.m., sunset 6:30 p.m., moonset 5:08 a.m., Chaturdasi. From Ananda Ashram, came back to New York, passed the night at my apartment. Dr. Mishra gave me a tape recorder, which is not working. No expenditure, no income. And just a comment here quickly, you can go to the database and hear these lectures that Prabhupada recorded back then. And they're very well done, even better than a lot of the reproductions that are being circulated by the BBT. And get a real insight into how Prabhupada was preaching back then to people that knew nothing about Krishna consciousness, and how he was nurturing them, gradually introducing them to the philosophy. So there was no expenditures and no income. And then we'll go to April 4th. Yeah, there we are. The sunrise was 5:36 a.m. The sunset was 6:31 p.m. Moonrise was 5:46. And it's Purnima. Today I went to see Mr. Bogart, his publisher, Mr. Lott, interested in publishing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Mr. Bogart offered me a typewriter and tape recorder. I took them. The typewriter's nice. Certainly it isn't a computer, is it? It's just tape recorder defective. Today I've replied the letter of State Department regarding visit to the president. Then I came to Paul's place. There was a meeting in Kirtan, Harikatha. No income, and expenditure was 30 cents. We'll read one more. April 5th, 1966. Sunrise 5:34 a.m., sunset 6:34, moonrise 7 o'clock. Pratipad, the whole day I was at Paul's place. He is a nice boy. I prepared paratha. He was pleased to have it. He is anxious to follow the principles of Vaishnavism. I shall help him to my best. Prabhupada was so sincere in helping others. In the evening, we held kirtan together. He is hopeful. No income and no expenditure. And Venkatavish, did I take a photograph of the picture? Is there a picture there? No. Below? Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, I don't have it ready here.
Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. That's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining our class with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And we'll move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava. And then Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the freezing North California with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu, I'm here in the sun. Glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajaka-Ācārya Sattvaresvara Samad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Nāma-Ācārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsādhi Gaur Bhaktamani ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Maya की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1 to 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we discuss every week, we read a few selected verses from a little booklet called Gaudiya Kantahar, which was compiled at the direction of His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupāda, the illustrious spiritual master of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, the current Acharya of the Krishna Consciousness movement. This is a 20-chapter booklet that was basically distributed to all the disciples in the mission of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupāda. In the second chapter, it describes the glories and the meaning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We will simply read 2 texts. The first text is from the text number 14, chapter 2, text 14, from Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 169, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 169. Jiver nistera lagi sutra koela vyas, mayavadi bhashya shunile oya sarvanash. Vyāsadeva presented the Vedic literature for the deliverance of the conditioned souls. But if one hears the commentary of Shankaracharya, everything is spoiled. The next text is 215. This is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto 12, chapter 13, text 15. Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Śrī-Bhāgavatam Ishyati Tadrasamrita Triptasya Nanyatrasya Dratihi Kvachit. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is accepted as the essence of all Vedic literature and Vedantic philosophy. Whoever tastes the transcendental mellow of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is never attracted to any other literature. Very, very special verses. Very special verses. So we will be reading today from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4. I don't know what exactly we have over here. Okay, text number 26, correct. All English synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement, and the current Acharya of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Evam pravritasya sada bhutanam shriyasi dvija saravatmake napi yada natushyat hridayam tataha. Evam, thus, pravritasya, one who is engaged in bhutanam, of the living beings, shriyasi, in the matter of ultimate good, dvija, or the twice born, saravatmakena, by all means, yada, when, na, not, tushyat, become satisfied, hridayam, mind, tataha, at that time. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Or the twice-born Brahmins, thus, when his mind was not satisfied, even though he engaged himself for all-around welfare work for the general mass of people, thereafter. Purport. Sri Vyāsadeva was not satisfied himself, although he prepared literatures in the Vedic values for all-around welfare activities of the general mass of people. It was expected that he would be satisfied by all such activities, but ultimately he was not satisfied. Text number 27. Nati prasida hridayaha sarasvatyastate shuchau vitarkyan viviktasyasya idam provacha dharmavit not ati prasidad, very much satisfied, hridayaha, at heart, sarasvatyas, of the river Saraswati, tate, on the bank of, suchau, being purified, viviktasya, being placed in a lonely place, vitarkyan, having considered, idam cha, also this, provacha, said, dharamavit, one who knows what is religion. Translation. Thus at once the sage, being very much satisfied at heart, began to consider, as he was one who knew the essence of religion, and said within himself. Purport. The sage began to search out the cause of not being satisfied at heart. Perfection is never attained till one is not satisfied at heart. This satisfaction of heart has to be searched out elsewhere beyond the matter. Text number 28. Drita vratena mayahi chandam si guravagnayaha manita nirvalikena Giritam cha nushasanam bharata vyapadeshena yamnayataha pradarshitaha drishyate yata dharmadi sri shudra dvijaraputya drita vratena, under strict disciplinary vow, maya, by me, he certainly, Chandamsi, the Vedic hymns, Guravo, the spiritual masters, Agnaya, the sacrificial fire, Manita, properly worshipped, Nirvalikena, without any pretense, Gritam cha, also accepted, Anushasanam, traditional discipline, Bharata, the Mahabharata, Vyapadeshena, by compilation of, he certainly, Amnayartaha, import by disciplic succession, Pradarashitaha, properly explained, Drishyate, by which necessary, Dharamadi, the path of religion, Sri Shudra Dibihi, even by the women and Shudras, etc. Translation by His Divine Grace. I have under strict disciplinary vow certainly worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual masters, and the altar of sacrificial fire without any pretense. I have also abided by the rulings. I have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata, in which even the women, Shudras, and such others, the friends of the twice born, can also see the path of religion. Purport. Nobody can enter into the import of the Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow and disciplic succession. The Vedas, spiritual master, and sacrificial fire must be worshipped by the desiring candidate. All these intricacies of the Vedic knowledge are systematically presented in the Mahabharata for the understanding of the woman class, laborer class of men, and the unqualified members of Brahmana, Kshatriya, or the Vaishya families. In this age, the Mahabharata is essential more than the original Vedas. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatyadesatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Adadhanastrinam Danter Idam Yachi Punah Punah Srimadurupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Chat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are dealing here with a very important section of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, where Vyāsadeva, after having compiled the four Vedas, the Puranas, and the Mahabharata, was feeling some dissatisfaction, some incompleteness. And it's quite significant that in this series of verses here, in text number 26, Prabhupada explains in the purport, Srila Vyasadeva was not satisfied himself, although he prepared literatures in the Vedic values for all around welfare activities of the general mass of people. It was expected that he would be satisfied by all such activities, but ultimately he was not satisfied. And then we see when we move forward to text number 28, he explained that I've observed the vows, I've worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual master, the sacrificial fire, I've abided by the rulings, I have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata, in which even the women, Shudras, and such others can also see the path of religion. Now, this is a very important point. There's a class of philosophers, especially in India, who think that the Itihasas, namely the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Puranas, that this is less important than the Shruti. These various literatures are considered Smriti, and the Vedas, the original Vedas and the Upanishads, are considered Shruti. But in the Chandogya Upanishad itself, it mentions that the Itihasas and the Puranas are considered the Panchamo Veda. Panchamo Veda means the fifth Veda. This has been very nicely explained by Jiva Goswami Prabhupada in his book called Tattva Sandarbha, where he analyzes all the Puranas and the essence of all the Vedas. He explains very nicely why the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is such an exalted special literature. Why is that? Because the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is considered the spotless Purana. I'm going to read here from a book that's been translated by a Prabhupada disciple. It's the Tattva Sandarbha that was translated by Kushakrata Das. It's got the actual Sanskrit, the word for word, and a very nice English rendition. This is Anucheda 19. It says, Yat Kalu Sarva Purana Jatam Avirbhavya Brahma Sutram Cha Praniyati Apiritushtena Tena Bhagavata Nija Sutranam Akriti Mabacha Bhutam Samati Labdam Avirbhavitam Yasmineva Sarva Shastra Samanvayo Drishyate Sarva Vedartha Lakshanat Gayatrim Adikritya Pravarti Tattvat. The translation is, after compiling all the Puranas and the Vedanta Sutra, Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was still unsatisfied at heart. At this time, he wrote the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to explain the actual meaning of Vedanta Sutra. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam contains the information of all Vedic literatures, and it enables the reader the actual meaning. He wrote the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to explain the actual meaning of Vedanta Sutra. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam contains the information of all Vedic literatures, and it enables the reader to attain the platform of self-realization. Because chanting of the Gayatri Mantra is very helpful for attaining the platform of spiritual realization, Vyasa begins the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by invoking the Gayatri Mantra, Dhimahi. Now this is quite significant, because after all of these other literatures had been compiled, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was compiled. The entire Mahabharata had been compiled, and what we have is a situation where, despite such large literary accomplishment, because we see the Mahabharata has been compiled for the benefit of Shudras, the Brahma Bandhus, and women, because technically, according to the Vedas, these classes are not eligible to study the Vedas. But in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna explains that even the women, the Vaishyas, the Shudras, that they can all go back to Godhead. They can all go back to Krishna in Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavana. They can all become purified. And the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is that purification. This literature is very, very special. We see in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself in Prabhupada's purports, where he describes that in the age of Kali Yuga, so many people are claiming, especially in India, that in order to study the Vedas, you have to be born in the family of a Brahmana. That you cannot become a Brahmana if you are born in the family of a Shudra or a Bahirvarna. Bahirvarna means Mlechas, Yavanas, Chandalas, these other lower classes, basically the meat-eating classes and the dog-eating classes. But in the Shastras, like in the Skanda Purana, and Prabhupada used to often quote this, Kalo Shudra Sambhavaha, Samskarat Bhavedvijaha. Another version is Janmana Jayati Shudraha, that in Kali Yuga, everyone is born as a Shudra. And the reason is one of these samskaras or reformatory ceremonies in the Vedic system is called Garbhadan Samskara, where the husband and wife perform a special ceremony before conception to bring about a pious child. But in Kali Yuga, nobody knows if this has been properly done. And due to the influence of the age of Kali, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there are so many difficulties. We've often discussed how in Śrīla Prabhupāda, in his various lectures and purports, he often quoted a verse from the 12th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan astiyeko mahan gunaha, that the age of Kali, Kaler dosha nidhe, dosha nidhe means an ocean of faults. Just like if you go to the ocean here in California, there is the Pacific Ocean, so one can go to the shore of the ocean and take bath or walk, very vast ocean. So the age of Kali Yuga is compared to a very large, vast ocean, so many faults and so many difficulties. It's called dosha nidhe. Astiyeko mahan gunaha, but there is one great quality in this age. What is that? Kirtanadeva Krishnasya mukta sangha parambrajet. That simply by chanting the name of Krishna, one can immediately become liberated. Mukta sangha parambrajet. Now this is very important because some people claim that you have to be born again in your next life so that you can take a birth in a family of a Brahmin in India, and then you can wear this Brahmin thread like that. We had interesting discussion one time with a very prominent Mayavadi philosopher, the head of a math in South India that was founded by Adi Shankaracharya, where the person noticed that we were wearing this yajna, this special sutra, this Brahmin thread, upabita. They call it janu in the Kannada language. So this person objected that you cannot wear this because in your life you have eaten meat. And Achyutananda Swami very nicely replied, according to the Shastras, the Bhagavata Purana, and the Vishnu Purana, and so many other Shastras, it is described that by chanting the name of Krishna or the name of Vishnu once, you clear out millions and millions of sinful activities from millions of births. This is very nicely described in the Vishnu Purana, when Prabhupada quotes that verse, Namno hi yavati shakti hi papa nirhara niharehe, tavat kartum na shaknoti patakam pataki naraha. This is also quoted by Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatan Goswami in the Hare Bhakti Vilas. And what this means is that a person cannot commit enough sinful activities in millions of births that one name of Krishna, one name of Vishnu cannot cleanse. Sachidananda Swami put the question to the Swami, so which is more powerful, the name of Krishna or eating the meat, the sinful activity? So the Swami had to admit. But the followers of such persons are very stubborn. The caste Brahminins are very polluted. They don't accept the verdict of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. There are so many places in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, even in the Bhagavad Gita, we see in that chapter 4, Krishna described Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishnam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, that this system of Varnashrama, the natural divisions in human society, was established by Krishna himself. But it is not based on birth, it is based on qualification and activities. Śrīla Prabhupāda used to often give the example that if a person is a high court judge, his son does not automatically become a high court judge because he was born in his family. He has to be educated. He has to pass the bar, become a lawyer. He has to practice. He has to be appointed as the judge. He has to have sufficient experience. Then he will be put as the judge. But this nonsense birthright, this caste Brahmanism has ruined so many things. We also see in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the 7th canto, in a conversation between Narada Muni and Yudhishthira Maharaj, Yasya lakshanam proksham pumsa varnabhivyanjakam. There is description that we have to observe the qualities of the person and the activities of the person. Then we can see what is the actual varna of that person. And this is the great power of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Śrīla Prabhupāda, through his preaching and his activities, he was able to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world and bring the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bring the essence of Vedic culture, and transform so many mlechas and yavanas and so many nonsense shudras. Of course, in America, we don't have chandalas or people eating dogs, but in some countries, they do eat dogs. In some East Asian countries, some people eat dogs. It's a very low class. It's considered the lowest class. And mlechas and yavanas are also considered outside. It's called Bahir Varna. The mlechas, the yavanas, and the chandalas. That even such low-class persons can be purified. This is confirmed in the 2nd canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Sudyate tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. By the influence and the power of Lord Vishnu and Lord Vishnu's pure devotee, people can become devotees of Krishna, devotees of Lord Vishnu, regardless of the situation at birth. Of course, one cannot behave like a mlecha or a yavana or a complete nonsense and claim I'm a brahmana and put a thread around themselves, because we see in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one of the characteristics of Kali Yuga is it says, Vipatre sutre vahi, that simply by putting a thread, people will think I'm a Brahmin. Well, that's very nice. But that is not the qualification. Bhagavad Gita describes so many qualifications of a Brahmana. The first qualification is satyam, to be truthful. One cannot be a duplicitous nonsense, a political nonsense person, and claim to be a Brahmin. One has to be straightforward. One has to be truthful. This is very important because we see sometimes in dealings amongst devotees so much nonsense, false accusations, rumor mongering, gossiping, falsehoods, misrepresentations, false accusations, blasphemies, malicious lies. We see so much of that, and people don't think. They don't think there's consequences. They don't think there will be a reaction. I saw a study one time how a professor had analyzed, a psychology professor had analyzed many devotees, many Krishna devotees. He says they are highly intelligent, but susceptible to very emotional response. Now it's a carrot. In order to become a devotee, one has to be somewhat intelligent. We see this in the Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavam mam prapadyate Vyāsadeva savradi sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabhaha. It is not easy. It is rare. It is the mercy of a pure devotee. But one has to use his God-given intelligence to make further progress. It's not enough to put the tilak and the shaven head and the devotee think, I'm a devotee now. I can say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. No, you cannot. You cannot insult other devotees with malicious lies, malicious slander, blasphemies, and nonsense. Get your facts straight. If you're going to discuss philosophy, you have to get your facts straight. When Jiva Goswami was in Vrindavan, he got a visit from the Muslim emperor in Agra. And the Muslim emperor visited the Radha Damodar temple. Name was Akbar. He was very favorable, very open-minded, very magnanimous person. And he gave some funds to build a book room near the Radha Damodar temple so that the Goswamis could store their books, to construct an area where they could put their writings. Why? Because the writings of the Goswamis were very detailed. Very, very detailed. This was the future of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Similarly, Śrīla Prabhupāda has often said that books are the basis. How many times have you heard Śrīla Prabhupada talk about his books? Many times he would say, it is not my books, but Krishna's books, that Krishna wrote these books through Śrīla Prabhupāda. Just the other day, I was looking on Google and I was putting images of Śrīla Prabhupāda and put the query in there, and so many pictures of Śrīla Prabhupāda. And there was one picture that was especially revealing. This was a picture of Śrīla Prabhupāda, and there was Krishna on the left and a shining light, and all the members of the disciplic succession were there. They were depicted. There was Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Tagore. Then Śrīla Prabhupada was writing. Prabhupada wrote these books. This is the essence of the Goswami's writing. This is the presentation of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna and the 6 Goswamis. And no one, no disciple, nobody has the authority to change these books under the plea of grammatical correctness or so-called editorial correctness. No, you don't. You don't. That's why Prabhupada was so upset when he found out that during his manifested presence, some persons took it upon himself to change his original first edition books. He was not happy. And what was his verdict? They cannot change anything. We've discussed that several times. Some people say, oh, you keep talking about this. Well, we keep talking about this because the subject is not being resolved. The fake books, the adulterated books, the changed books are still being peddled and presented as original. That's nonsense. We are a cow milk sampradaya. Cow milk is a pure product. We're not a camel milk or goat milk sampradaya. What do we mean by that? We don't change the teachings. We don't misrepresent and mischaracterize the writings of the Acharya. This is important. I'm going to read briefly from a presentation from Śrīla Prabhupada on a morning walk in Perth, Australia. On May 9th, 1975, in Perth, Australia, this is a lecture, a conversation, a devotee, Amoga said, Śrīla Prabhupada, when people in the street hear Krishna's name, the chanting, or they get some literature, does that mean they will not take birth as an animal? Śrīla Prabhupada, no, they'll get birth in a good family. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, Bhagavad Gita 641. If they simply appreciate, it is very nice. Then in the next life, human life is guaranteed in a very nice family. Simply if he appreciates, yes, it is very nice, that's all. Then he'll get another chance. Amoga. Many people think the pictures are very nice. Prabhupada, anything they say nice, that means it is guaranteed next life. Or even in this life, it will definitely help. As soon as he reads some pages, then it is guaranteed. Those who are inquiring, that means they're liking. Their life is guaranteed. Amoga. One man who joined us about Rathiatra time last year was a solicitor, lawyer. He used to buy our books, but he never read them. But he would keep them on his bookshelf, and he used to always think Those are such beautiful books. He used to think like that. Prabhupada, this is appreciation. Amoga. He never got time to read it. Śrīla Prabhupada, it doesn't matter. If he keeps the books with appreciation, that makes his life insured. He immediately becomes in touch with God. Who keeps the book with reference and love, immediately he becomes in touch with God, because these books are representative of God. I'm going to read that again. These books are representative of God. That's why these books can never be altered, changed, compromised. Do not compromise Prabhupada books. Return them all back to the original version. And all these translations in different language made on the basis of adulterated books, especially the original Bhagavad Gita, out. Not allowed, not bona fide, not authorized. Thank you very much. To whom it may concern. Hare Krishna.
Well, it's to concern everyone that is interested in spiritual life and getting out of the entanglement of birth and death by the mercy of Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. It concerns everyone. And it is the link to the spiritual master through sound vibration. Hearing from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda is the correct form of yoga to link us with the spiritual world, because really that's the goal. Not pranayamas, not asanas, not exercise, but hearing the philosophy from a pure devotee. And this is essential for making advancement, and not to change anything. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I have an interesting story from Gopal here at the Mexican ashram here, our headquarters in Mexico for PDA, Hare Krishna Society. He was in Philadelphia back in the 70s. He went from Buffalo to Philadelphia. It was the only time he met Prabhupada in Philadelphia, and he was at a class. And he told me, Gopal, that's his name here, he told me a story. He said they were reading the pastimes of Ajamil. And as you know, the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas were deciding if Ajamil should be liberated or condemned. So they were reading the passage, and the passage went like this. It said, so Ajamil spoke the words of Krishna, of Narayan, 3 times. 3 times. He called his son, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And Prabhupada stopped him in the class, stopped him in the reading. He said, how many times? And the person reading said 3. He said, no, it is only once. It was only one Narayan, and that was sufficient to liberate him out of the material world. So this is the point. Change books. You don't change one word. That is a mistake. Prabhupada said, where is the authority when you change? What happens when something is changed? Then the authority is lost. So here we have a perfect example of this, right from Paul here in Mexico, that he was actually present and chastised the people there. Who has changed these books from 1 to 3? Not 3, 1 Narayan. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, they are the link for us through the spiritual master. And Prabhupada, I've been listening to this lecture over and over again, where Prabhupada talks about Shruta. He says that these codes of religion are used, they're codes used in business even. And he used the example, you probably heard it, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, CIF, cash including freight, he says. This is a code, an understanding of how to do business succinctly by code. So Shruta is like that. Shruta is like that. The scriptures are codes that give us insight into how to achieve perfection in the human life. And they cannot be changed. You cannot change the codes. And that's what's happened. 70% Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and Vijaya Pandit in Italy, 70% of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita have been changed by Jayadvaita. 70% of them. Connect the dots, everyone. It is not bona fide. No matter what anybody says, this is a misrepresentation of the Vedic teachings by these so-called gurus in the ISKCON group who have offended our spiritual master by this change disease. So these statements reveal the purpose of human life, everyone. All you Prabhupada disciples, all you members of the Hare Krishna Society, this is the proper process. And before we move to a further discussion, I've been studying on my trip here, Chaitanya Charitamrita, enjoying it so much again. Thank you, Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, Śrīla Prabhupāda, for giving me a little taste for this. All it is a taste to figure out what I'm doing, this confused soul here. So I want to read a small section of Shruta. This is concise verses that will tell everyone in this class what is the purpose of life without any confusion, without any delusion, without any hesitation. You can take this up and follow it without question, and you'll go back home, back to Godhead. This is from Sanatana Goswami was visiting Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya is explaining to Sanatana Goswami these concise verses on the purpose of human life. Our host, Venkat Bhatta, is in a car, so he's not able to do the verses on the screen today, but I'll read them for you all. They're concise. Just hear them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the body of a devotee is never material. It is considered to be transcendental, full of spiritual bliss. That's Śrīla Prabhupāda. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. And text 193, this is in Anchalila, chapter 4, text 192, 193. And when the devotee's body is thus transformed into spiritual existence, the devotee in that transcendental body renders service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The secret, Vijaya Pandit. Here is the secrets of life in Shruta, concise, condensed forms of truth. You don't need to read all kinds of Shastra. Just listen and accept. That's all. The living entity who is subjected to birth and death, when he gives up all material activities, dedicating his life to me, for executing my order, and thus acts according to my direction, at that time he reaches the platform of immortality. At that time he reaches the platform of immortality and becomes fit to enjoy the spiritual bliss of exchanging of loving mellows with me. Prabhus, we cannot be mudhas, donkeys. We have to be devotees and listen to these messages of Shruta from the scriptures. And in this way, by the grace of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, we'll get elevated out of this miserable condition of material life. Hare Krishna, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
Very important point which are being brought up. I wanted to read a few points here following what has been discussed here. This is from a letter in 1974, on November 22nd, 1974, a letter from Śrīla Prabhupāda to a devotee named Bahurupa Das. Prabhupada says, I'm pleased to hear that you're chanting 16 rounds daily and reading my books regularly and following the 4 rules. In my books, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is explained fully. So if there is anything which you do not understand, then you will simply have to read again and again. By reading daily, the knowledge will be revealed to you, and by this process, your spiritual life will develop. Next, there's another very interesting letter from Śrīla Prabhupada to a devotee named Yugo Salimon. Incidentally, this compilation of letters was compliment of a devotee in England named Maheshwar Prabhu, Mahesh Raja. Prabhupada says, so far your worship of Lord Jagannath in your home and you're becoming initiated, it is all right provided you have the recommendation of the temple president. I'm very glad to see that such a young boy as yourself, you are taking serious interest in this Krishna consciousness movement. Please continue in this way. Our process is something universal. It cannot be checked by any means. Anyone in any place, in any country can chant Hare Krishna. If it is possible to go to the temple, then take advantage of the temple. A temple is a place whereby one is given the opportunity to render direct devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. In conjunction with this, you should always read my books daily, and all questions will be answered. And you will have a firm basis of Krishna consciousness. In this way, your life will be perfect. Now, this is very important because we see the tendency of many persons to go beyond Śrīla Prabhupada's books to various advisors, to various neo-mats, to various self-appointed or voted-in so-called acharyas, neglecting the instruction of Śrīla Prabhupada, the current Acharya. Somebody recently told me, how can you say Prabhupada is the current Acharya since he departed in 1977? Well, Prabhupada was asked that question in 1975 in Berkeley, California. What will happen to the movement when you die? Prabhupada's first answer, the reporter had barely finished his answer. Prabhupada said, I shall never die. And everybody says, Jai Haribol, Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, I shall live from my books and you will utilize. We never think in terms of the Acharya being dead and finished. As a matter of fact, in 1975, in Atlanta, Georgia, USA, on the appearance day of Śrīla Prabhupada's spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada said, it is not that he is dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding. So people have to refine their understanding and revise their vapuvad idea, their bodily conception idea. Because the philosophy of the Krishna consciousness movement, the original pure philosophy that Prabhupada gave has always been that the Vani is more important than the Vapu. Prabhupada even used to say that his Vani was more important than his own Vapu. Of course, we always cherish and always appreciate Prabhupada's Vapu. One can get Prabhupada's Vapu Association today if he wants. Do we want to hear? Prabhupada says in the first canto of the Bhagavatam that one should not approach a sadhu for seeing, but for hearing. We have to develop a taste for submissive oral reception. It is not complicated. It is not difficult to do. Let's face it, every day, all around the world, in every country, in America, in Europe, in Italy, in Mongolia, in Canada, USA, England, Africa, everywhere, there's thousands and thousands of different literatures, newspapers, websites, magazines, books. People are hearing so many nonsense things pertaining to this material world. Prabhupada books give us a window to the spiritual world, to the transcendental world of Krishna. That's what the Bhagavad Gita gives us. That's what the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives us. This is very important. Very important. We have to pray to Krishna to develop a taste. Right now in the material world, we don't have a taste. We have a taste for so many different nonsense things. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that even though you have given your names and all your potencies, Nam Namakari Bahuda, Nija Sarva Shaktis, your own spiritual potencies are invested in these transcendental names. He says, but I'm so unfortunate, Na Nuragar, I don't have a taste. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He's showing how to develop a taste. He has perfect taste. He's showing us what kind of mindset, what kind of mentality we should develop to give a taste for the name of Krishna, the activities of Krishna, and the wonderful literatures of the pure devotee of Krishna. Śrīla Prabhupāda. Hare Krishna. Hare.
Yes, Hari Bol. Yes, this is very important, everyone, that we have to understand we have an opportunity. Even in the material world, opportunity and preparation lead to success. So in our particular situation, what is our opportunity? The opportunity for every human being that comes in contact with Krishna consciousness is to come in contact with the pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. This opportunity, if it's properly practiced, this is called preparation. Chant your rounds, 16 rounds a day. Follow the 4 regulated principles. Offer your food to Krishna. And serve prasadam to other people in your particular Prabhupada Desha, the areas where you live. You have to preach where you are if you want to really get the blessings of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and Prabhupada. You have to share Krishna consciousness with other people. You can't keep it like a precious diamond in your hand and hide it. Just look at it like a miser. Prabhupada talks about miserly men. So devotee is not a miser. We have the most valuable diamonds, the beautiful diamonds from Angola. But we have to share this treasure with other people. That is very important. You have to be selfless. You have to be compassionate as a person. You have to develop these qualities by chanting, by hearing, by taking prasadam, following the process, and you'll be successful. Now, before we move to our conversation with our members of our group, I do want to read a purport for you from that last verse from Ancha Leela that I just read to you earlier, Yaśodā. And this, again, Shruta, this purport, Prabhus, gives you a real insight in what we have to do as people to get out of this cycle of birth and death. Purport. This is a quotation from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11:29-34. At the time of initiation, a devotee gives up all his material conceptions. Therefore, being in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is situated on the transcendental platform. Not a bad bargain. Thus, having attained knowledge and the spiritual platform, he's always engages in the service of the spiritual body of Krishna. When one is freed from material connections in this way, his body immediately becomes spiritual, and Krishna accepts his service. You give up your material body, your body becomes a spiritual body in this lifetime. However, Krishna does not accept anything from a person with a material conception of life. When a devotee no longer has any desire for material sense gratification, and in his spiritual identity he engages in the service of the Lord, for his dormant spiritual consciousness awakens out of the slumber, out of the comatose condition that we've been in for millions of births. You know, every morning I'm here in Mexico, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and all I hear is thousands and thousands of living entities making noise in the morning. Crickets, birds, roosters, cows, sheep. And I'm thinking to myself, we are so fortunate that we are not in these species, that we are in the human species, and beyond that, we are associated with a pure devotee who's giving us an opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, and out of this state of birth and death. I'm sorry to talk, but my friend Paul, who I'm staying with, he was showing me he knew Denny Lane from Wings with Paul McCartney. And Denny Lane, he was the lead singer in the Hollies, a British group. And my son and I were watching him, and we looked at his videos from 1965 to 2023 before he died. And it was startling to see how severe old age is, how it just destroys the vitality of the living entity by the influence of eternal time. These people look like old, broken rock and rollers, pathetic. It was very sobering to see that death is attacking all of us. So this awakening of spiritual consciousness makes his body spiritual, and thus he becomes fit to render service to the Lord. Karmis may consider the body of a devotee material. Prabhupada does not have a material body, everyone. But factually, it is not for a devotee who has no conception of material enjoyment. If one thinks that the body of a pure devotee is material, he is an offender, for that is a Vaishnava aparad. Vani or Vapu, everyone. Think about it. Here it is. The proof is right here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, purport from Śrīla Prabhupāda. And remember this, I'll finalize here. Every word that Prabhupada speaks is Shastra, not just the verses. Every purport is Shastra. Know that. Every word is a direction for us to get out of this state of bewilderment that we are in. All glories to the Sankirtan mission. And we have Bhakta Ram Singh, in California there near Yaśodā-nandana, listening at the class. Bhakta Ram Singh, maybe you could share some of your insights with us today at the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class. Hare Krishna.
Jai, all glory to Śrīla Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhupada had a great mission, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, and he was directly empowered, from birth. Prabhupada talks about his father, then he talks about his spiritual master, and then he talks about the mission of his spiritual master. And then he gave the whole plan on how to execute and move the movement forward from a very early time. So it was his desire that all the devotees take shelter of the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and him being the via medium to get to success. So I'm very much excited to be part of the movement, and then participating and then associating with the devotees here. Actually, everyone should take advantage of this association, because it's for a very limited time, as we have been discussing, that many senior devotees have been coming, and we have had conversations with them, but this association is the most rarest thing. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, Haribol. And Bhakta Ram, we want to congratulate you on your desire to push forward your preaching work in California. And we'll wait for the announcements about your planned opening of a Prabhupada Disciple Hare Krishna Society ashram in California to help people take up the process of devotional service.
Oh yeah, that is in Oroville, California. We have made a down payment on that. We have about 60 days to close. We're going to get an inspection Monday. So we're going to see, they're going to inspect the floor, the roof, the AC, all this. And then, time is ticking away. So it has to happen. We have to set it in motion so people can see that, this process is a bona fide process, as anyone can do this with the help of you senior devotees here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we would like to see everyone do the best they can wherever they are in the world with us, and whatever assistance we can provide, we're here for you. I see, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, we have a very interesting question from Kanta Das in Trinidad. I'm going to make a brief response, and I'd like you to speak too, but I just want to say, Kanta Prabhu, you're absolutely right, as you're mentioning here, that many initiations were given because the temples in the early days were short-staffed. That is 100% true. And, I can speak from personal experience that we did that. In fact, we had one devotee. There was a devotee in Toronto, and a lady, and she was a very good devotee, and she passed away. But when Prabhupada was in Toronto, she was practicing the process. She was chanting, and she was following the principles. Her husband wasn't following. And so when we submitted her name to Prabhupada, he asked me, how come her husband is not being initiated? And I said, well, I told him the truth. Well, he's not really following. And Prabhupada said, no, he should also be initiated as well. And as it turned out, after initiation, he did much better, and he became more active in devotional service. Unfortunately, he ended up in New Vrindavan and got completely destroyed by Keith Ham and the New Vrindavan fiasco there. So strange. But the point is this: initiation. We've been discussing it. Really, initiation means, Prabhupada explained it, to initiate, to start the process. So the real initiation of the individual is their commitment to the process of devotional service and their commitment to the instructions of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Yes, formal initiation is a good thing, but the commitment to the process of devotional service is the essence. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please. Your microphone.
This is a very important point, because what happened during Prabhupada's manifested presence, he had a standard for first initiation, for second initiation, for sannyas initiation, and then there was only one Babaji initiation. Somebody wanted Babaji initiation. He gave him the initiation. 6 months later, he was gone or whatever. And Prabhupada did not give any more of that. With regards to sannyas initiation, we do know for a fact that in January of 1977 in Bombay, India, Prabhupada in a lecture requested no more sannyas initiation, but the leaders of this movement did not follow that. They claim, well, after that, Prabhupada gave initiation to Bhakti Charu, Bhakti Chaitanya, Bhakti Prem. Well, that's his prerogative. Prabhupada can have exceptions to his policy, but that policy of stopping the sannyas initiation was never followed by the leaders of the society. As a result, what they invented what's called political sannyas, which was very, very bad. Basically, people were given sannyas so that people could build their zonal empires or their zonal influence with a group of loyal, selected people, but it did not prove very successful. So what is the position of all these post-1977 non-authorized initiations? Not very good. Similarly, with Brahmin initiations, Prabhupada noticed that many times people would receive or request to be initiated as a Brahmin because there was not enough devotees to cook in the kitchen or do the deity worship. And Prabhupada sometimes would approve on the condition that they would come up to the standard. But after a while, Prabhupada said, no, this should be stopped. They should come up with a proper standard. They should pass a proper examination. They should be trained properly. In other words, people should follow the process. Now, somebody may say, well, that's nice. That was during Prabhupada's presence, but now we're facing a situation where many devotees, for example, like in this group, everybody here, there's many persons here who are not living in a official ISKCON temple or official Vaishnava temple. They have a little temple in their homes, but basically one can transform the house into a temple by offering the foodstuff to Krishna, making offerings of fruits and flowers and incense to Krishna, reading Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in front of Krishna. Just like I'm sitting here, I've got my Govardhan Shila, and one Shila that had been given to me personally by Śrīla Prabhupāda in 1976. There's a Krishna Kaliya deity, there's pictures of Krishna, disciplic succession, Panchatattva, all kinds of pictures, books. So it's my little temple, and anybody can transform his house into a temple by following the example and the instruction of the pure devotee Śrīla Prabhupada. That's why we read from that letter, any person from any part of the world, in any country, in any situation can do this. Now, somebody may say, well, I've not been initiated. Okay, for now, just chant. Chant Hare Krishna, try to increase, chant your rounds. Don't eat any food stuff with no meat, no fish, no eggs, no onions, no garlic. Offer pure foodstuffs to Krishna with love and devotion. And in this way, increase the service. And gradually, when you're more serious, Krishna will make arrangements so you can be properly initiated according to Prabhupada's instructions in 1977. The current system that has been manufactured by many leaders of the ISKCON society was never authorized by Prabhupada. This bogus appointment idea and this bogus voting has resulted in a disaster in Śrīla Prabhupada's society. That was not authorized by Śrīla Prabhupada. What Prabhupada did is authorize person to act as officiating representative, initiating devotees as Prabhupada's disciples on his behalf. Now, this is very contentious, and they don't agree with this because of money. They insist on being in the position of Niksha Guru because of money and puja. That's all. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, well, lots of insights today from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the various readings and discussions. And thank you, everyone, for joining us globally in this weekly sadhana program. It's only 4.5 hours out of 168 hours that are in the week for you to engage yourself in a variety of activities, along with the chanting of your rounds and the other services that we're discussing. And in this way, if we take to this process with the proper association and preparation every week, sticking steady to the process, then you as devotees will see the results in your own life and you'll feel happy and blissful. Just like I say to my godbrother Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, Krishna has blessed us all with service. If you can have service, then your life is successful. So as long as we have devotional service to the pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, and we're pleasing him with our efforts, then we will get the blessings of Lord Chaitanya and Śrīla Prabhupāda, and then in due course, everything will be as it should be for our spiritual emancipation. So we're going to thank you, everyone. I'm not sure, Venkat Bhatta, are you able to play the kirtan? Or is this pretty much
I don't think he's here. I don't think he's here. He had to take off.
Okay,
so I don't know if we have anybody that can do the kirtan here.
Yeah, there'll be no kirtan today or closing, but we'll have Yaśodā close the show with our obeisances to the devotees. Yaśodā,
Hare Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Vijay Pandit Prabhu, comeva, comeva.
Va bene, va bene.
Molto bene.
I just read the message that the program starts 1 hour earlier. I'm sorry, I came very late.
Okay.
I have read very late the message from Venkat at 3 o'clock. Anyway.
Okay. Bhakta Zoran. Hare Krishna. Very good.
Actually, what happened? Why we start 1 hour earlier?
Because in America, they changed the time. Today, they changed the time called daylight time. This is something they did in the Second World War, and they kept it up. Twice a year, in the fall, they move the fall backwards, that you move the time up 1 hour. In the spring, they also 1 hour adjustment. So that's why the time is what you had yesterday at 7 o'clock, today was changed. So that's why it's like that. Next week it'll be 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. That's East Coast. That's New York, Toronto, Montreal, like that. 10 o'clock a.m. Saturday, Sunday.
We want to thank Krishna Kata, Prahlada Chandra, Sean Evans in Michigan for being with us, Goramani in Mayapur, all the devotees, Sweta Saxena in Ethiopia. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the program. We hope you're feeling the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness by this association. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. We'll see you next Wednesday for Chaitanya Charitamrita class, and keep chanting and be happy. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.